day to the steps of St. Paul.
Hello.
James, what's up,
The
man?
Hi. How are
old-bird
you doing?
Nice to meet you. How you doing today?
I'm good. Lovely to meet you. I like your background.
Oh,
in
thank you.
her
Yeah, I'm a
own
visual
special
artist on the side,
way
so that's a logo
to
I
the
came up with.
people she
Nice,
calls.
lovely stuff. Yeah, thanks for agreeing
Come
to have a
by
chat with
my
me. It's lovely to
bags
speak
full
to
of
people who
crumbs.
like the same music as me and to discuss it.
It always feels good to know that you're not alone. It's good. It's good to have like-minded people out there that respect and admire it. Are you in the UK now?
Yeah, so I live in London. Yeah, so I live in central London.
Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, it's it's pretty horrible here right now, but weather-wise anyway. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean at the moment. The album is coming out a week on Friday, next Friday, 15th of March. So my current living room is just completely scattered with vinyls, CDs,
Yeah.
this sort of thing, just everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot, but it's nice to be able to get the album out all over the world, and I have some orders for quite a lot from the US actually, and I have some from some far-flung places like South Korea and Norway, Sri Lanka, which blows my mind completely.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm always blown away by the reach of jazz. Like whenever I talk to somebody that's just way over in like Turkey or just in regions that just you wouldn't expect, and it's just the power of the art form has really spread and gone all over the place.
yeah, I agree. And I sort of as I guess, I mean, I'm 31, but I still consider myself a young person. I think that part of my job as sort of the next generation of jazz musicians is to really keep it alive, keep these songs alive. A lot of the songs um, that I recorded for this album, I think they're all were written between 1937 and 1965. So, most of the writers are long gone. Most of the people that remember the originals are long gone, unfortunately. And I really do sort of take on that torch to keep these songs and this style going. As with, there's lots of people doing it, but I think that it is really important.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's the thing that's always so encouraging to me about the jazz world and about the elders is they always want to keep that flame going. They always want to give their insights and their wares to the younger generations, and it just keeps that burning brighter on and on. So
There's
it's
there's nothing better than meeting someone on a gig, whether it's in the interval or after the gig, and they come up to you and they say something like, "Oh, I saw Frank Sinatra live," or
yeah.
"I saw Ella Fitzgerald live," and I just want to ask them a million questions.
Yeah.
And there was this one guy I met. He said he'd seen Sinatra 6 times, and what I'd give to see him once.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we get into Moonray, which is going to be out soon, I want to know how did you survive COVID? We're coming on the 4 year anniversary. How did you get through that time period and how did it change you?
It was a strange time. It was a time where obviously everything stood still. And in terms of my performances, my work, my regular income was just completely flattened. Um, I was supported here in the UK. We had a self-employment grant, so I was helped to some extent by the government in that financially. And then artistically, it was a funny one because at one end of the scale, I was being completely starved by, it's not starved by, starved from performing music with other people and that communication and interaction that happens live on stage. I was so hungry for it, and not having it for months and months and months at a time was really difficult. However, then at the other end, it was a time where I spent all my time all day working on my debut album, which is called Tomorrow, which was released in the beginning of 2021. So essentially just before lockdown, we happened to record it, the album. So we had it all there musically. So then I spent so much time I went back to my parents' house, which is in Yorkshire in the north of England, and I would just spend so much time on this laptop at the dining table, just working on getting that album mixed and mastered and produced, and getting all the CDs and stuff made. So that was really good, and that was really rewarding, and that's what I sort of see that I got out of that time. A lot of people found new hobbies, or they worked on all sorts of different things, but that's what I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about this album. How good does it feel to see this coming out now with kind of the world waking up in a new way, and just in general, how did you artistically put this one together?
Yeah, this one was a slow burner. I think as soon as you release an album, there is that feeling of relief, kind of, because it's sort of out there and it's in the world and people can listen to it. Um, and I think that as soon as I did that with my debut album, what's that, three years ago now, I was already starting to get ideas of songs, and just sort of, I think, like right now, where I am right now, I'm so focused on the release of this album and the music in this album that it's very hard to bring new ideas in. But as soon as that's released next week, those ideas start flowing and I start getting ideas. So I just started collecting songs, really. Um, Songs that I would hear just on. I tend to do this thing where, if I listen to an artist, I'll listen to all of their material. So I'll listen to some Sarah Vaughan, and I'll make a playlist of like 40 Sarah Vaughan albums, and I'll just listen to them over. It takes a long time, but I'm out and about or I'm doing some work. So um, yeah, I started finding little gems here and there. And then I came up with the idea of the lineup and creating this quite unique lineup, which is a rhythm section plus vibraphone plus a trumpet and a sax, and then finally the cherry on top of the cake, the five-piece string section. And that inspiration came from listening to a lot of George Shearing, who I'm a massive fan of, and his quintet that has this, the sound of the guitar, the keys, and the vibes playing in unison, and like really swinging stuff, intricate arrangements. And then also from listening to Marty Page and his dectet with Mel Torme, who's my favorite jazz singer ever. Sort of, I wanted to combine that and use a bit of that George Shearing sound and nod to it, but at the same time create my own unique lineup, like Marty Page did with his dectet.
So what are you ultimately hoping the listener gets from this album?
I'm hoping that they get an experience, and I think that's always my goal. Um, I'm hoping they'll get a musical experience. I'm hoping that they will hear some songs that they've never heard before and are inspired to listen to them more, by other people. Some of the ones on this album are quite rare, and there aren't many recordings of them. But then at the same time, I want people to listen to some of these songs and these arrangements and go, oh, I know this song, I know it quite well, but this is completely different. And I want people to be able to see the, I guess, like the identity of the album. I want them to feel that. And that was something that, I put a lot of effort into the artwork as well, which I think in the title, Moonray, reflects the music very well, because I think that Moonray, like, what is a moonray? It's not, you can't grab it. It's sort of at night. It's a bit mysterious, and to me that linked so well to the George Shearing sound with those high frequencies of the vibes. A little bit sort of thought provoking, and yes, so it's got a different side to it. This album, um, the moon has many sides,
Yeah.
and I think that this music does too. So yeah, I hope people can go on a bit of a journey with it and feel the way that they listen to it in order, like I would love people to. They can feel the rises and falls. Were there any? I'm guessing you've listened to some of it. Were there any tracks that you particularly wanted to ask about or interested in?
I think I just wanted to kind of get the general feel of what you were going for. I think it's like you said, there's always a journey, and I like to kind of immerse myself in the journey. And I did feel like there was it did kind of go up and down, and it was telling a story. And I think a part of what's going on with a lot of artists that are releasing songs now is that it is a story of what we've lived through and how we've gotten through it, and how now it's kind of a celebration with all this music coming out. We're all getting back out and doing this together live when we couldn't do it for so long. So I think there's a lot that goes into that. And I got my poet brain goes to, like, you got the sunlight, and then you got the moon rays, and you got these contrasting ideas that come together. But I'm curious, how did this love affair with music, and more specifically jazz, begin for you? How did this become your life?
Very, very gradually, and that seems to be a theme with me. I'm always seem to be a bit of a late starter with things, and I take my time. So I think in terms of singing, it took me a long time to get into singing. I think I always knew in myself that I could sing and that I was okay, but I would never listen to anyone's opinion on it, and I wouldn't believe my parents. And for ages, I just wouldn't sing in front of anyone. But through time, I started doing some acting at school, and my teachers were saying, you're quite good at this performing stuff. Maybe you should try and do some more stuff outside school. And eventually, my mum essentially had to like push me into doing musical theatre. I was like, no, I'll just do acting, because I was terrified to sing in front of anyone, which obviously is very different to now. But she pushed me into these musical theatre classes, and I had a great time doing lots of musicals, age 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, sort of through university as well. And some amazing productions, things like Sweeney Todd, Kiss of the Spider Woman. We did Beauty and the Beast, Evita, and all of these things. And essentially, I got into jazz through that, because musicals, in a way, are a bit of a gateway to big band and jazz, because many of the songs that come from musicals, originally anyway, things like written by Gershwin and Cole Porter, they are in these musicals. And I remember singing, in a showcase, a musical theatre thing, singing Someone to Watch Over Me, and thinking, this suits me, and not in the sense of singing it, loud and proud in a theatrical way. Just it just suited my timbre and the way that I like to sing. And through that, I started listening to more and more Sinatra and Nat King Cole and Ella Fitzgerald, and finding these songs and arrangements and recordings. So it really went from there. I've never studied jazz formally. I never went to a jazz college or conservatoire like everyone else on my album. But it's something that I think was always there, that took time to nurture and bring out.
So who were early influences? Who were some people that you listened to that really kind of formed the way that you wanted to go about your craft?
I've mentioned a lot of them already, but and it changes. It definitely changes sort of year to year. But in terms of female vocalists, I absolutely love Sarah Vaughan and Nancy Wilson, Ella Fitzgerald. People like Blossom Dearie as well. But I think the people I started listening to first naturally were the male singers. Harry Connick Jr., Bobby Darin, Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Mel Torme, Nat King Cole. There's so many of them, and they're all so different. And I like to think that in the same way that Frank Sinatra, you know, based a lot of his early singing on people like Bing Crosby, the next generation of jazz singers, in the world at the moment, such as myself and loads of others, we take inspiration from a plethora of people and take little bits, and maybe there's a bit we like from that singer, maybe there's a bit we're not, that doesn't really fit with us, and eventually you mold your voice. I think, go back 10 years, I think I was definitely mimicking. My voice was 80% mimic and 20% me. And now, it's flipped for sure, the complete opposite way. And those inspirations now are just part of my voice and part of my musicality. but it's something I'm still working on. That I have a lot more to learn.
So what was the first live jazz show that you saw that blew you away?
Wow, first live jazz show. I I'm not sure. I mean, this isn't a live show, so it doesn't really count. But I remember the first time singing with a big band.
Yeah.
And I think I remember that being quite a big deal. It was an audition for my university. It was an audition to sing with their big band in my first year. So I was only 18. And I remember just walking into the room and, you practice it to the Bobby Darin backing track or whatever it is. And then you go in and there's like 25, 30 people in this room with their shiny instruments, sort of like looking at you like, who's this guy? Like, is he going to be terrible? Is he going to be good? What is? And I just remember really feeling at home singing with this big band, and I think that was a big thing for me. I was like, I need this more. I need to sing in this situation more. Um, and I think that the small band interaction, which is something that for the last 5 or 6 years, I've worked on really hard to get that communication with a small band. That's something that came a little later once I started doing my own gigs and creating my own music. But I wouldn't be able to name a show. I'm not sure, to be honest.
That's fine. No, that's a great answer. So let me ask you this. What is it that you like the best about being a professional musician? What do you look forward to every day? What drives you?
The never ending spiral of wanting to get better and learn more and listen more. Um, I often get really frustrated when I'm listening to, like I was saying, the way that I listen to artists, I listen to their whole catalog. And I often get frustrated that I can't do more. There's only so much time in the day that you can listen. And sometimes I'm like, wouldn't it be great to just have like 10 years where I can just press the pause button and I can just learn so much and listen to so much music, and I wouldn't even need to go places. I can just sit and just listen to all of these recordings from, through history, jazz history. So yeah, I think for me it's just I want to constantly improve, and I'm very ambitious. I want to achieve things in my career. I want to bring my music to people, and I want to, lighten someone's day with my music, or sort of turn their head, um, because that's what happened to me as a young singer, um, or jazz fan. My head would turn when I'm listening to some Nat King Cole. Like, I've never heard anyone do that before.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots more to learn, and I think, and I love that. I love that about music. I'll never complete it. So yeah, I enjoy that craft.
So why do you love jazz?
It's a tough question. I think one of the main reasons I love jazz is the way that you can put your own spin on things, and everyone has their own. You walk into a room, a rehearsal room or a gig, and you have a load of people there. And yes, all of those people, they play different instruments or they sing, but it's not robotic. People have their own style, their own intentions, that their own thing that they want to bring to the table. And I think one of the things that I love so much about jazz is gathering all those things on the table in a live setting and trying to meld them into something that works and is succinct, and to create something new. I don't know, it's like cooking. Like, you're bringing in all these ingredients and you just want to make the best that you can. And that's all through communication, and communication on stage can be the smallest things, like a glance, or if you've been working for someone for years, like, you just know, a lot of the guys I work with, they know if I'm going to do a certain thing, and I sort of know if they're going to do a certain thing. It's just there. So I think for me, it's the communication in terms of singing jazz, yeah, and just squeezing the most out of every gig and every performance, rather than just, okay, we're going to play this song like this all the time. I never do that. I always try on every gig, whether a lot of the songs from my first album, every single time I sing it, I still actively try to push myself to come up with a new way that I can phrase something or sing something.
So at the end of the day, James, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm very driven. I think I'm ambitious. I also think I'm realistic. Um, and I definitely understand, like I just said, I think working in a team is what it's all about. And especially in jazz, that, there are some things that I have strengths, but I also have weaknesses. And I can fill those weaknesses with people who have strengths where I don't. Um, I worked with a fantastic arranger on this album, Tom Smith, who's also plays saxophone and some other woodwind on the album. And, he offered and had so many musical skills that I just didn't have. And he allowed me to bring my music to life and my ideas to life. So I think I'm realistic and understand that you have to work in a team for things. Um, yeah, I mean, that's a hard question, but yeah, very driven, and patient, actually, which I can't believe I'm saying that because I was so impatient as a teenager and maybe in my early 20s, I was like, I can do this, I can do that. Why aren't I doing this? Why aren't I doing that? And now I just understand that, play the long game, produce good music, work hard, in my artistic career, and hopefully, I'll keep pushing and get where I want to be.
So are you going to do anything special on release day?
I am actually, which is a new thing that I haven't announced yet. But I'm going to be usually release days are very boring because
Yeah.
essentially you just have to be on hand to, I don't know, fiddle with things like smart links and Spotify links and just make sure that everything is connecting and ticking over. Um, However, I'm going to be going to Broadcasting House, which is the BBC's main building in London. I'm going to be going there with some of my band, and we've been invited to go on one of their shows, one of their primetime shows, to play 3 songs from the album
Cool.
live on the radio and be interviewed about it. So that is super exciting, and has only just really been confirmed. So yeah, that's going to be cool. I'm where on the Monday, so the album comes out on the Friday. On the Monday, myself and everyone involved in the album, from the engineers to the musicians, the graphic designer, we're having a big piss up. Basically, we're gonna go to the pub and we're gonna celebrate all the work that we've put in, and the release of the album. So excited for both of those things equally.
Yeah, absolutely. So the good news, when exactly is the album coming out? How can people get a copy, learn about live shows, anything about your world? How can they do that?
So the album comes out on Friday, the 15th of March, which, as of us recording now, is next Friday. Friday, the 15th of March, and it will be out, depending on where you are in the world, around that time. Um, so you can also, I have vinyls, I have CDs for this album, Moonray. I have a limited edition vinyl and I have a standard edition vinyl, which have different designs. One of them is sort of a custom marble effect on the vinyl, which is, I've never done vinyl before. It's all new to me, and I'm obsessed. And it's so exciting to have. I'm looking at them now over there, sat in a pile, ready to send off everywhere. Um, and then yeah, CDs. So people can get signed CDs from my website, jameshudsonmusic.co.uk. You can also buy the vinyls and the CDs on Amazon if you just type in James Hudson Moonray, and lots of other places. So in terms of social media, I'm on Instagram, James Hudson Music. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. So I also have a mailing list. So there's lots of ways to keep in touch. And but Instagram is my main thing that I post a lot on with updates. So yeah, I just love for people to listen to the music and just to let me know what they think. I want to know what song is their favorite. I want to know what song is their least favorite. It's always exciting to hear people's opinions, and I just want people to really digest it and hopefully, as I said, listen to it in the order that it was intended to be listened to
Absolutely.
create
Well,
that story.
yeah, for sure. Well, I have no doubt they're going to dig it. James, thank you for your time. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with the release and everything as we kind of unfold into the year.
Well, thanks for your time. Yeah, I really appreciate the chat, and you had some really good questions there that I had to really delve into the inner sanctums of my brain to come up with. I like
Good.
that.
Good. Absolutely.